Hello and welcome to my 1000 subscriber Q&A. I have asked you guys both on YouTube and on Twitter to submit any questions related to YouTube, related to me as a person, and we are going to be answering those, or at least I am going to be answering those in today's video. Just quickly editing me popping in here, I just forgot to say in the actual recording that I do have a Discord now celebrating 1000 subscribers, so I will link that in the description down below. There's a couple of text chats and also a main general voice chat in which I'll probably be in there a couple of days a week, maybe a couple of hours a day or something like that. I'll be in there whenever I can, so you can drop feedback, you can drop video suggestions as well, and engage with me whenever I'm in there. I'll probably tweet whenever I'm going to be in the Discord if you've also followed me on Twitter. So the link to my Discord is down in the description down below. And honestly, I can't thank you guys enough for 1000 subscribers. I've been making videos for about 15-ish months from the 14th of March 2020. We've got about 240 on the channel now and 1000 subscribers. That is as many people that was in my secondary school. That is absolutely awesome. And we are only going to get bigger and stronger, especially as the season progresses. But without further ado, let's just jump on into the questions. We're going to be looking at the Twitter questions first and then the YouTube questions. And question number 1 comes from Vignesh. Great achievement, mate. Happy for you. Do you use API to get timings of drivers after the race? And if you do, can you tell me which API you use? And the answer to that question is yes, I absolutely do. The API that I use is called Ergast. I'll link it down in the description down below. I just take all of the lap times for each drivers after the race in their CSV formatted file. As I'm not a particularly great coder in things like Python and other things like that, I much prefer coding in Excel. So yes, I do use an API just to pinch all of the lap time data. Everything to do with qualifying and practice I grab myself from the F1 website and the official FIA documents, such as sector times, speed traps, and things like that. Then question number 2 comes from presumably a Checo Perez fan. What do you recommend to start to do with motorsports data analysis? I would like to know. So my advice is to definitely start small. Start by comparing like qualifying lap times, converting them all to percentages from whoever is the fastest in qualifying, and then compare that to other races, for example, as percentages knock out the differing laps and the differing tracks. And then you can compare those to different seasons as well, and you can see who is improving and who is getting better or worse. So definitely start small, and then you can work your way up to full race data analysis like I do in the race edition of my Race Weekends data analysis. And question number 3 comes from Aaron from the 5 Red Lights channel, the guy that's absolutely bossing it in my audience prediction championships. The first F1 race you ever watched, and who is your favourite driver? Now, the first F1 race I ever watched was the start of the 2010 season in Australia, almost 11 years ago. That's crazy, and I've been watching F1 ever since then. That was the very first season I watched religiously from start to finish, and I've been trying to watch it as much as I can. Obviously, there have been a couple of races that I've missed due to anything really, so I've tried to keep up with it as much as I can for the past 11 years. I do also remember small little bits before that, for example the Brawn era in 2009 and some of the other Fernando Alonso eras in 05 and 06, but I don't really remember them. I just remember them being on the TV, as it was always on the TV in the household. And as for my favourite driver, I don't have one. I'm more of a fan of the sport as a whole and the spectacle that it brings. I just want to see great racing and also great data that comes with it as well. Then we've got a question from Sam Farmer, your go-to meal deal. The very first question that is not motorsport related. My go-to meal deal is anything from Sainsbury's. I'm a Sainsbury's kind of person. Waitrose is a little bit too out of my league, but if I do go to Waitrose, it's usually a sushi, something or other, and a drink and some crisps. But Sainsbury's, I'll go for like a baguette that's usually a chicken, something or other. Drink, it will always be an Oasis blackcurrant, and then crisps will just be anything. Any crisp. It could be prawn cocktail Walkers, it could be Quavers, it could be ready salted, anything but cheese and onion. Cheese and onion is grim. And as for the Co-op and Tesco's, I don't shop there. I only really shop at Sainsbury's. Oh, then one of my favourite questions in today's video comes from Steph, the person that is just absolutely lovely to talk to on Twitter. The energy is just amazing. Give me your top 3 Marvel projects to date in order. Here's to the next 1,000 subscribers. I am an absolute Marvel fanboy, especially when it comes to the movies. I try and keep up a little bit with the comics. I don't actually own any, but I do watch video explanations and sort of live commentaries of people reading comics, etc. So I try and keep up with it as much as I can. And in terms of ordering the Marvel projects, do I include Disney Plus things like WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier that's just finished? Hell, even the Loki thing that's coming up, the trailers for that have looked awesome. But out of the movies, out of the, what have we had, 22, 23 movies or something like that, with Black Widow coming up later this year, I'd probably put Captain America and the Winter Soldier as number 1. Number 2, I think Avengers Infinity War, because that was just, watching that at midnight, and the midnight screening, that was so good. Thanos' story in Infinity War was just immaculate, and the fact the Avengers lost as well, it's just such a good film. Such a good film. I think that is my second film. And then 3, oh Christ, Thor the Dark World. No, I can't say, I need to edit that out. I can't put that in. Probably Black Panther. I think I'm going to have to keep that in, aren't I? Black Panther is number 3. Black Panther was very good. Again, I like a film with a good villain. Killmonger was just exceptional. I think that's my favorite. I think that's my top 3. My top 3. Captain America the Winter Soldier, Avengers Infinity War, and Black Panther. I think it would have to be a whole other video series in order to rank all of them, but everybody knows that Thor the Dark World is just the bottom. It's the bottom of the pile. I think even Marvel know that themselves as well. And then we move on to another question. Do you do data analysis as a hobby, or do you also have a profession in it? I do not have a profession in data analysis. It is primarily a hobby. I'm currently at university at the moment studying forensic science, which has nothing to do with data analysis. Yes, I look at data from all sorts of blood spatter analysis and retention times for different chemicals on different analytical techniques for the gas chromatography with mass spectrometry or flame ionization or things like that. There's all sorts of things that I can use data analysis for, but it's not a primarily data analysis subject. So no, it is primarily a hobby, and I do not have a profession in any data analysis topic, but I do have a background in statistics. I did A-level maths, where I covered statistics as well as core mathematics. Not that I really remember too much from core mathematics, but I do remember a little bit from statistics. Then we have a question from a fellow Alex. This person does amazing feeder series videos, and his knowledge about feeder series stuff is just immense. And his question is, will you ever analyze feeder series data? And my answer to that is simply, if I can get hold of it, I would love to. I would love to compare at the same track, for example, Austria or wherever F2 started, I think in Bahrain. I'm not 100% sure. I don't follow F2 or the junior formula as religiously as I follow Formula 1. I would love to compare the F2 lap time charts to the Formula 1 lap time charts at the same track and see if we see the same sort of spreads and things like that and comparisons. But I honestly haven't looked for the F2 data. So if there is a place where it exists and I can copy it manually, or even if there is an API for it, I would love to look at it. I'll maybe do it for a future video if I can find the data. Then we've got another question here. On average, how much time a week would you say you spend on data analysis, considering I've got to combine it with uni work and perhaps eat and sleep in between as well? It's a long time. I will admit that. It is a long time. I spend probably 3 or 4 hours a day where I'm not recording a video on just primarily data analysis, where I'm crunching my own numbers, automating tables, coming up with new ranks for my algorithms, sorting out problems, ironing out creases, making things a bit more optimized and just run smoothly. So yeah, I think I spend about 3 to 4 hours a day when I'm not recording a video, but Mondays after a race are 100% one of my busiest days. I'm up at about 7:30 in the morning, roughly when the API data updates, and I'm working from about 9 after I've breakfast and showered and everything like that. I'm working from about 9 in the morning, recording, updating graphs, updating tables, uploading, editing, etc., all the way through till about 8 p.m. that day. Monday is 100% the busiest day I have. And then I also try and just sort of look after myself as well. I work out for about 6 days a week, or at least I try to. I've sort of slacked off the past couple of days, mainly because I've got my final university assessment coming up tomorrow, actually. So I really need to sort of hurry up with this video, edit it, get it out, and then I can prepare myself for my final uni assessment, which comes out tomorrow. And then we have a question here from Beth from the Beth1 channel. What area of F1 is most interesting when it comes to running a data analysis? Now, honestly, this question probably changes from race to race. Sometimes it's qualifying, sometimes it is the race itself. So if we take Spain, just as an example, it would 100% be the race. We saw a beautiful lap time chart from Spain and a beautiful trend. We saw 4 bands of individual racing in the lap time chart, as crystal clear as you could want. I couldn't have asked for a better data set that just happened naturally and was not forced. It was absolutely exceptional through each of the different phases, from phase 1 of the Grand Prix up until the full safety car for Yuki Tsunoda's crash or stoppage, up until the second phase and even the third phase of the Grand Prix. There was just 4 beautiful bands of racing. So when we see things like that, absolutely that is the most awesome thing to look at and the most interesting thing about a data analysis. But sometimes it is qualifying when an unexpected result pops up, or when a comparison is made to a previous year and you think someone's actually made a lot of ground, then you find some interesting details. So it definitely changes from race to race. Then we have a question here. If you could put any 2 drivers on the current grid in the same team to compare them against each other in equal machinery, who would you pick and why? Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. The videos that I would make from that driver pairing in equal machinery across a full season, I would milk that till it was dry. All sorts of data comparisons, stint laps, full race comparisons in clean air, qualifying comparisons, etc. Who is the better driver in equal machinery? I would milk that so hard until every last number was used in any form of calculation. That would be my ultimate driver pairing, and that is why, because I would make so many videos about it and just fully compare both drivers to ultimately determine who is the better. And that was it for the Twitter questions. We will now delve on in to the YouTube questions. And the first one comes from Hal. When did you start to consider becoming an F1 math YouTuber? Was it scary making the very first video? And how do you feel about having 1,000 subscribers? Now, I've always wanted to be a maths F1 YouTuber more than an opinion-based YouTuber, mainly because I feel there's a little bit of an oversaturation in the opinion-based channels and the sort of talky-based YouTube channels for F1 content, whereas there's not a great deal about F1 analysis channels and things like that, looking at the data as much as I do. So I have always wanted to do that, whereas the first couple of videos didn't quite work out that way, as it was an F1 chat, mainly because the coronavirus suspended everything. But the very first mathsy sort of series that I ran was my fantasy prediction series, where I took a bunch of variables from the 2020 testing, compared that to 2019 testing, don't know why I've crossed my arms that way, and then also took the 2019 performances. I created all sorts of different adjustable sort of metrics that I could change the 2019 pace based off of 2020's testing performance to predict what could happen in every single session. So I've always wanted to do things like that, and I've always been interested in that because no one's ever really done it in as much detail, I suppose. And then, was it scary making the first video? No, I don't think so. I've always enjoyed YouTube. I have had a couple of other channels, not going to be linking them. I think I've actually deleted like 2 of them. I've been making YouTube videos on and off for about, 8 years or something like that, 6, 7 years, back when Minecraft was uber popular before it sort of sprang back alive a couple of years ago. And then I think the scariest bit was a face cam, the first face cam video. That was probably when I had the most nerves. And then, how do you feel about having 1,000 subscribers? That is awesome. After 15 months of making YouTube content, finally having something to show for it as well, and having people that enjoy it as much as you guys do. That is awesome. Then we have a question here. Team you would like to see join F1, your favourite F1 team and driver. Also, congrats on 1,000 subscribers. So I'll answer that second one first, as I've already sort of answered it. I don't really have a favourite driver or a favourite team. I'm just a fan of the sport and the spectacle that it brings, and especially the data side of Formula One. As for a team that I would love to see and love to join Formula One, it would be another manufacturer. Porsche, Volkswagen, Audi, anything like that. Just another manufacturer. Hell, even if BMW could come back, that would be pretty cool. Just another manufacturer, another big name like that. Or maybe even someone from a junior formula. Prema, for example, or Prema, however you want to pronounce it. Maybe one from there. And outside of that, I don't really have a great deal of knowledge about anyone that's actually looking to join Formula One. But I would love to see either a junior formula rise up, or I'd like to see another car manufacturer pop itself in. And then finally, your 2022 lineup prediction, not just drivers, but also whether any teams are sold. Now, I do think that Haas is going to be sold to Dmitry Mazepin. Again, I've seen a bunch of videos floating around this topic. I do think it is actually going to happen. And as for driver lineups, Bottas, I think, is going to be shifted out of Mercedes, and Russell will be bumped up. Whether he'll be partnered with Hamilton or not, I'm not 100% sure. If Hamilton stays, it will be Hamilton and Russell, in my opinion. If Hamilton retires, I genuinely think Verstappen will be partnered with Russell in that Mercedes. Which then begs the question, who is going to fill the second Red Bull seat? As Perez will therefore become the de facto team leader, I think they'll pull up Tsunoda because he's showing some promise. He's a little bit on the inconsistent side, but remember, it's his first season and he is exceptionally young. But I do think they will pull him up if Verstappen ends up jumping ship. As for McLaren, they're going to stay the same. As for, who else have we got? Aston Martin, they'll stay the same. Alpine, I don't think they're going to change much either, so I think it's going to stick with Alonso and Ocon. Who else have we got? AlphaTauri. So if Tsunoda does pull himself up, I'd just like to see another one of their junior drivers come up. As for who it is, I do not know. Then Alfa Romeo, I think Kimi's going to retire, you know. I don't think Kimi's going to be here for 2022, and if he is, that's going to be a massive surprise to me. And then as for Ferrari's junior drivers, I haven't got a clue. I'm not the biggest follower of the junior formulae, so I don't actually know who's waiting in the wings. Then Haas are going to stay the same with Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin. And then Williams, if Russell moves up to Mercedes, as that is almost the guaranteed seat move so far for 2022, I'd like to see maybe Dan Tixon pop up. I know he's a little bit on the polarising side, but I would like to see him pop up into Williams. And then maybe Roy Nissany, as he's done a couple of sessions, FP1 sessions, and he even did a testing day with them as well a couple of months ago. So yeah, I think that'll be my 2020 lineup. And there we go, there is all of the questions that were submitted on Twitter and on YouTube. Thank you guys for all of that, and thank you so much for the support on the channel and for 1,000 subscribers. But that is all I've got for you today, guys. I hope you have enjoyed, and I will catch you in the next episode with whatever and whenever I decide to make it. I'll see you guys then.